negligent because there weren't fences, but he opened up that gate, crossed them over the day before, and lets them out. And so he is at fault. At least in the
You can see the ripples here. And ripples there. This is a reverse track, and you can see it's almost plantigrade. 3 toes, and it's elongate. And of course it's a reverse image because this is the material laid down on top of the track, and you can see the cracks in the when the mud cracks show you it was in dried mud, and it got filled in by clay here in reverse. This is material that settled into the track and hardened and left a cast. Now there are several tracks here. Let's start with this one. You can see this one here. Very typical Goralator. Probably Coelophysis. And then the next track here, right in here. And then there's some more here. Looks like another one coming this way. Right in here. Here's the tip of it. And it's coming facing towards us. Right there. This is the one we were looking at. Here's a bigger one right over here.
That's more.
This one here.
Yeah.
With the 3 toes.
Uh-huh.
Here's those tracks. And right here we think there's some bones. Right in the track layer. Here's another one. These are a reverse image. These are the strata that was deposited on top of the original track. And you see the three toes. This is the Dilophosaur. And this is one of its tracks. This is a very deep track. It pushed down into the mud. See the heel and the three toes. It's almost an inch and a half deep. Looks like another one here. Yeah. This one put its heel down and this one didn't. And over here, we have some mud cracks. Shows that they were walking in dried mud. Now these here are in a conglomerate. See all the little rocks mixed into the sandstone. Here's something here. If I can, right there. This one over here, you can see that this is a rib. So small, but it's a rib. And it looks like there might be some fragments of teeth, possibly, in here. Here's another one. And you can see that these are bones here. This is the type of thing that I found at Tuba City where a Dilophosaur was found. Ooh. It looks like shells. Probably, maybe unial clams or something like that I know are found in this. There's a little tiny bone there. It's beautiful. And as I said, this kind of glistens. And it looks like abalone. I mean, it's a refractive. Now you can see water flows in this, and ripples. And over here, you can see some of these rocks. See these ripples right here. This is in the track layer, just like Tuba City. And this is St. George, Utah.
Looked out of the strapping on it. This is the rock. That's what he saw.
Good for him.
Yeah. Now, Dr. Johnson's an optometrist. And when he made the discovery, he made it because he owned 20 acres in this area. LDS had a lot of kids raised his own food. Well, in 2000, his kids were on their way out. So he decided to level some of his property and sell it as commercial real estate. This was going to be retirement money. So he operated his own bulldozer backhoe. He did all the work himself. And when this one flipped out of the truck, he realized he had something unusual. Now the good news for us is his stepson's a geologist. So we got the stepson involved immediately. As he removed 20 feet of loose topsoil, he hit this rock layer out here, and the stepson said, I know that's a lake bed, so don't break it up with the bulldozer. So the last 2 feet of soil came off with brooms. And since then, they've discovered well over 1,200 dinosaur tracks just on this. This is what's left of the lake bed that we call Lake Dixie, where the dinosaurs lived 198 million years ago. Museum over it, but the lake went from 50 miles north of us to Cedar City, all the way down into what is now the Grand Canyon. But 198 million years ago, we were at sea level. There was no Grand Canyon. There was nothing that you see out when you look out the window today. So it was very different. We know that Lake Dixie was a freshwater lake fed by mountain streams that were coming off mountains that were building in Texas and Colorado. All that fresh water from the rain was washing down to fill our Lake Dixie for the dinosaurs. This was also during the time of Pangea, when all the continents, of course, were closer to the equator. The climate was hot. You can see how orange it is here, and we call this an erg. This was all blowing sand and sand dunes all the way around them, but the lake itself, being fresh water, they had plants, they had fish, they had each other to eat. It was a lifestyle.
Those sand dunes were what is now Navajo sandstone?
Yes, that and a few others. I mean, there's several different periods of time when we've had blowing sand here, other than what you see today.
Yeah.
But anyway, just to give you some perspective on how big it was. Now everything in here, yes, you can take a picture, you bet. Dilophosaurus dinosaur. We name the tracks and the dinosaurs separately. Makes our books this thick instead of this thick. But anyway, that way we have a good perspective because the same type of track may belong to another dinosaur, also in a different time period. Now the smaller tracks here are called graulator tracks. They're outlined in chalk so you can see them. And they belong to the smaller dinosaur called a Megapnosaurus, and that picture's on the yellow poster behind you there.
What's the age difference between that layer and that level?
You mean right here?
Yeah.
It's still all sandstone. It could have broken off from the same position.
Oh, okay.
Tucus, kind of a cross between an alligator and a lizard.
Ghost Ranch, New Mexico, and here's its last
how
meal.
complete it is. There's no doubt what it looked like. I think this one was found in Arizona.
That one needs some spikes on the back, right?
It actually, the bones cross over there, just like it does here. You can see how they meet.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the way down the back. And even though it had 4 feet and it could run very fast, my guess is this was lunch for the larger dinosaurs.
Oh, yeah, like fast
It's
food.
bite-sized, just perfect. We found so far has 4 toes. The fourth is like a dog's tooth.
This is a Protosuchus. Means
Step in soft mud and they sink down the
crocodile.
water. Actually did an impression of the
First crocodile in Greek.
Now this is a good example of how we find our rocks. When we found this one, this piece was laying on top of this. The whole rock had already flipped. That this would have been the bottom of the lake. This would have been the sand and silt that washed over that area. We were able to separate it because the minerals didn't mix like a cake mix. They just sat one on top of the other, very separated. And when we popped it up, we found all of these tracks in between these two rocks. And if you look out, well, it's kind of hard to see since we're starting to build our walkway out there, but you can see some of the shoal areas where if we could get our instruments in there and pop some of those roots up, we'd also find more tracks. Body oils. Okay, now our little guy standing back here is called a Scutellosaurus. Now this is one of the earliest dinosaurs that had bones on the outside of its body. We call those bones scutes, and that's how it got its name, Scutellosaurus. If you notice the way it walks, it normally walks on 2 legs, but its front legs are long enough it could bend over and walk on 4. So we think this could be a predecessor to the Stegosaurus. When they were reconstructed, so this is just gives you an idea. We didn't find very many, but enough that we could put the animal together and get a pretty good idea of what it looked
Did you
like.
find the scoots with it?
Yeah.
Did you find the scoots also?
Yeah, they were part of what was there.
These are very small
Now,
tracks.
not all of them, but you've got to assume when you get so many that fit a certain position that there had to have been more. Looks kind of like a dog with a beaver head. The ears hadn't fully developed from the jawbone yet. But anytime we find a skull, the first thing we look at are the teeth or where the teeth used to be. That tells us what kind of an animal we're dealing with. When they have biting and chewing teeth, they're probably a mammal. When they have ripping and tearing teeth, they're probably a carnivore. And if they have flat teeth, they're probably an herbivore, because those flat teeth have to grind the leaves into a pulp before they... Now try to find that in the rocks when you're out hiking. Pretty delicate.
A fish trail.
No, I wouldn't have seen it either. We also have evidence of invertebrates. Now, invertebrates would be like worms, no skeleton to speak of. So instead of the actual body of the invertebrate, or even kind of a petrified body, all we find are the burrows that they made when they were alive. So whenever you see rocks like this, those are the burrows left from the invertebrates. We also have evidence of horseshoe crab. We find a lot of horseshoe crab up in the 240 million year layer of rock up in Hurricane, Utah, which is, there's a quarry up there, which is great to go investigate. And National Geographic did a great job on horseshoe crabs because they still live today. And this came from the magazine. This is in a laboratory. First of all, horseshoe crabs have blue blood. And it's the diet. The crustaceans they eat in the ocean are made mostly of copper, so their blood is blue. We eat mostly iron with our meat, broccoli, our vegetables, so our blood is red. Now in the laboratory, we're taking some of the blood from the animal's heart. The blood is very, very sensitive to E. coli and salmonella. So what we do is take out the hemoglobin and then use the chemistry in the blood to test our own food. We don't kill the animal, we put it back in the water. People that have been here from the Carolinas say once a year, these horseshoe crabs come on the beach. They're like turtles. They have to come on the beach to lay their eggs. So when they cross the highway, it's a disaster. You know, they get run over. But the skulls on these things, when she saw that, she said, people need to see this. So they just donated it. Now we sold off some of his other there's our LGS single center back here. He sold that to them. And behind us is supposed to be a big Smith's grocery store complex, which has been bulldozed for years, but nothing's being built, so I don't know what's going on with that. Yes. Yeah, he lives about 2 housing developments up, and every so often he'll show up on a Saturday and give a tour. So he's a pretty smart guy. He's probably 90 by now.
I hope he has a lifetime membership here.
Yes, I think so. I think so. When he comes in, everybody welcomes him with a hug. Some kind, but you can guess the same type of thing was living way back with the dinosaurs. Unfortunately, because of the wall they built coming up the ramp, there is a big display of tufa, which are petrified tree roots. This is what we have here for you to look at. All trace fossils. Yeah. So
Here's the dinosaur track.
there's a whole
And right here is an insect trackway.
That's all they do. It's all separated out.
Yeah, I wrote an article on trace fossils. It's
Oh, good.
an interesting subject.
Yeah. Now this one, I tell the kids, he stepped in the only mud.
Probably a beetle or
Notice
something.
how small the mud cracks are. It was fairly dry, but when he stepped down, it was wet and just sank way down in and left a great impression. But when we were extracting the rock, the claws broke off, so they don't have a good impression of those claws.
And you see these spots here.
Well, on some of them in here,
Or
we
raindrops.
have used glue, you know, to put the little toes back on if they broke off. But there's a point. We have so many. 1,200 tracks on the lake. They walked in the water.
This
and
is
they
in
fought
deep
fish.
water, so
But
no
for the
tracks.
most part, they lived around the edge of
But
the
where
lake.
the ripples are is where the tracks near shore.
And then this is oxygen and sugar.
Stromatolites.
And then when some of the creatures that lived in the ocean eventually migrated onto land, this is the first thing they ate because stromatolites covered the land masses all along the ocean's edges, all over the earth at that point in time. That was about the only life that was above the ocean. So I wondered, why would anything crawl out of the ocean where you've got food, oxygen, everything you need, and move onto the land? And one scientist put it in work. So they had to dig their claws into the bottom of the lake and pull their bodies into the water. So whenever we find swim tracks, they're always going in usually one direction, and that's against the current of the water. We look for the size of the claw marks. That gives us a pretty good idea of the size of the dinosaur. And this picture gives you kind of a clue how these were made.
Dinosaur claw marks.
Now I'm from Toledo, Ohio originally, so as a little kid, my sister and I used to swim in Lake Erie all the time. And it had tremendous wave action. So to get in there as little kids, we had to get beyond those waves, and we did the same thing they did. We dug our toes in the sand and just kind of crawled beyond the waves to get out in the water.
Dinosaurs swimming.
Now what's amazing is the size of the claws on some of these dinosaurs. The swim tracks really give us a pretty good indication of just how big these animals were. These are a good set of claws on this one. You need a satchel. Stick your.
I know.
Yeah. This is one artist's conception of what the Dinosaurs look like. Several different versions as far as
This is a fish bone. And this contains some fish scales.
yeah, this is a small. We can eat whatever they want to eat.
Can I see this side?
You bet.
This one here?
Yeah, go ahead. Now this is a complete phytosaur skeleton found in Arizona.
Most
Three adults
complete
standing together.
phytosaur
The head, the jaw,
found.
the body was too long to get in the picture. It was probably 30 feet long. Just to give you some perspective on how big they really are. But we find a lot of bones for phytosaurs. In fact, we found a huge skull, the upper part, not the lower jaw, right outside the entrance to Zion National Park. This was cleaned up in our laboratory. You're looking at the palate, the upper part of the jaw. And if you note the size of the teeth, I don't know if you can see it from where you are, but these animals had huge teeth. You see the little teeth there? Now the skull itself was about 4.5 feet long. We did all the work on it, and then the University of Utah took it away from us. They come and
This
go.
is a tail drag.
There's, the 5 years I've been here, I pretty much every Christmas for the party see the same faces.
These look like dig marks right next to
Now
it
this one's unusual. It's been since the museum opened because
from the claws.
Now this is a man-made cast.
I think
of
this was a
Carnosaurus.
track where the
Carnosaurs
toe
are found
was
only
bent
in
back,
Mongolia
back,
desert, but the same type
it
of
fell
fish is
backwards.
meat-eater. You could kind of relate to a T-Rex.
Of course, these tracks are upside
Difference is the
down.
bone structure.
You're
This one
looking
has
at the
a smaller
reverse.
bone in the
You know,
center
like
of
here's the track and it turns over.
Theropods have all
You're
three
seeing
bones the same size.
the material
What
that
this
went
tells
into
us
the
is this
actual
guy can
track.
really run fast. And if you look at the size of the holes for the, and eventually when you pull it out, it's a perfect hole for the track that was made by the dinosaur. Inside the plaster is the next thing we're going to clean for a complete sauropod skeleton that was found in Moab. It'll probably take us 5 years to get all the bones done. We've already done a femur. The next one is inside. You can see where the black line is. And of course, that's how we transport the bones that we find. We wrap them in burlap and plaster, different layers, and put it back together with concrete. And then we painted the whole thing with this reddish color preservative because it really makes the track stand out when you put light on it. And of course,
This
that way,
is a tail drag.
humidity isn't going to break down the tracks. We also have impressions of dinosaur skin. Patients in blood.
Brachiotherium.
Now,
Front
this
foot
is a
and
dinosaur
rear
laying
foot.
in the mud, so we actually have an impression of the skin on the side of its body. And it's very reptile.
Skin impression.
Yeah, to show off all the dents and bumps and everything else. Yeah. Another skin impression here, not quite as good as that one. That's really the best one if you're taking pictures. This one's okay. The spots and stripes. And
It's a fish fossil.
And then the coelacanth. Now, coelacanth is a fish they found living. They pulled it off in
Coelacanth.
fish nets in, I believe, Africa or just outside of Africa. South Africa. So again, good old National Geographic sent a team of divers down to take a look at a modern day coelacanth, and this came from National Geographic
These are
magazine.
phytosaur teeth.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of looks like one big carp.
Yeah, I'd be dude, huh?
But they said it's now a bottom feeder.
Okay, it says dinosaur.
During the day it lives in caves, and then it comes out and hunts at night. And it actually just stays on the bottom of the lakes. They're probably 6 feet in length, so they're not small. They're
Spinosaurus.
still quite large animals. And this is a good example of the fossil and the modern day coelacanth. You can see changes in the tail. But the big change, according to the divers, is the bone structure in the fins. The bones are heavy enough that when the fish is bottom feeding, it walks on its fins like a dog.
We're finding it in lakes
They found it in, they brought it up in fish nets, is what happened.
in South Africa.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the Indian Ocean.
Yeah.
See.
Yeah.
Indian, yeah. Partially eaten, the head's gone, but we have good skin and scale on this, and then the impression of the tail lets us know it belongs to a semi-annoid or a semi-anodous type fish. Some of the whole teeth we have, we can find pieces of teeth 6,000 feet up in rock falls, not big rocks, little rocks, more like cinder cones. You can find a lot of dinosaur teeth and coprolite. The bones are laying exactly where they should lay. So when
Trackway is of a running dinosaur. This is the Coelophysis, which made these tracks. No, not Coelophysis, I mean Dilophosaur. Dilophosaur that made the tracks.
Like a dragon. It was found in England, so now we know where Tolkien got his incentive. It's in England. Yeah, we couldn't compare the original, so they said it's man-made. Yeah. But where it was found is what's fascinating. If you look on the map, now this would be during Pangea. This is where the Spilisaurus lived. This would have been as we and laid his hands right in front of him. Is that what you wanted? This picture? Okay.
Yeah.
You do a good job of that.
So take a measurement from the hands to the last pelvic bone sit, and that gives you a pretty good idea of just how long those arms were.
Is that life
They
size?
sat down.
They think is that life size?
Not necessarily.
And they moved
This
forward.
is several years old. That one's only about 3 or 4 years old. So we decided
See
to
the
put in
tracks.
real models of these dinosaurs. Now every picture I've seen of a Dilophosaurus,
Sat
and the
down
Dilophosaurus
here.
got its name because of
He
the
sat down
bones on the
again.
top of its head. Di is Greek for
Then he
tooth,
put his hands
and that's
down.
how it got its name. This one's a little bulky. Every picture I've seen of one, they're very. Last Saturday, they've got another
These
half
are
done, so I'd say
Pterosaur tracks.
so if you live in this area, you're come back to visit. Come back again, and you can take a tour out there.
These are pterosaur tracks.
Probably on the other side of this
Different
dinosaur
types.
aisle.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Walks there.
That sounds good.
That place.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of families.
Here are the tracks
Okay.
of the Dilophosaur. And you can see in another layer right above it is the ripple
Like the hair color. Yeah, VR.
right above the tracks.
Okay.
And then more ripples over here.
Although my maiden name is Trowbridge, I'm British. Oh, okay. My husband's the French guy.
Warner Valley dinosaur tracks. Moen Kopai.
around here, we could actually walk around for a couple hours and look for more tracks, but we don't have time to do that. But I'd like to walk up this canyon to see what we can see.
Okay. Do you see anything yet in this area here? No. Okay.
No, nothing.
Okay.
Nothing. Little shine speck in that sandstone, and there's little quartz crystals that are at that angle.
Volcanic ash on top of tracks.
I'm just going to be satisfied with my viscosity.
Again, coming up.
Okay. Oh my God, that's the opinion time. Whose is this? That's Larry's. Wow. The view. Yeah. Just standing on there. That's okay with me too.
There's a conglomerate layer right in here that has these in it. These are polished rocks inside of a sedimentary, trapped inside of sedimentary rock, and these eroded out. And here these rounded rocks are eroding right out of this rock, which is the surface layer here on top.
But this
Softer shell.
what about this? The blue part.
That's a lichen. Yeah.
Very neat. I love it. I love it.
That's old.
There's wood here.
I wonder if that's Indian day. Yeah.
All over this layer. There's one. Right there.
Some quartz crystals on the outside of it.
These are the lava flows, they're probably Pleistocene,
We're gonna move on then.
and it's flowed down on top of the Chinarump conglomerate.
See you, Jeremy. We won't be back tomorrow. Cedar pocket.
What is that? Brand new road?
It's a road there. The road will go up through these mountains and out towards Nevada. It's a four-wheel drive road. It's not good to take it going that way. It's being recorded now, so we have to be careful what we say. Jeremy is a moving editor there. You're just dead meat. You might as well just say forget it.
Yeah.
If you didn't bring your lunch or
Video for hours and hours.
okay, Mike. Trilobites are on our way to the trilobites.
We're still on the right.
Yeah.
What the hell levels
Is that split shale?
Yeah, it looks like split shale and marble mountain. Same stuff.
We were way up there, but there's some more of it down here. This is the road we came up. Here. This is the way we came up, and there's Las Vegas down there. We were way up there, but there's some more of it down here.
we had gone fossil digging, and he
You
lived
see the
in,
fault,
the
the syncline right here.
How to get off the road, go along a
This is tilted.
parallel
This is
road,
tilted the other way.
passing all the traffic. Yeah.
Near Mountain Pass, where the dinosaur tracks are.
Possibilities are because of math problems. And some of them will be multiplication, what makes 120. And there's 4
These are
numbers
lava
together.
flows.
So, and you do the same thing. You're figuring out what are the possible numbers, and then, kind of like eliminate them as you end up with it working. Wow. But some things, for example, say plus 11, and it's only 2 squares. It can only be a 5 and a 6, because that's all it really is. 11 out of 2 numbers. You can't go higher than 6. So,
We were collecting petrified wood in the Shina-Rump strata in St. George, Utah, and it was in the, which is part of the Chinle Formation, which is Jurassic. Or no, it's actually at the edge of the Jurassic, and it is in the Triassic, right at the border. And the type of trees were the Araucarian pines, just like those in the petrified forest in Arizona, and they're found in this conglomerate sandstone with these polished rocks in them, probably polished by being grinded by the sand before it's solidified into stone. Here are the fossils I collected on this trip here. These are the pieces of fossil wood. And this is a sample of the conglomerate with the polished rocks inside the sandstone. It's a very coarse sandstone. And at the trilobite site, I collected these, which appear to be ripple marks. And they are almost miniatures of what was seen in the dinosaur track strata. Now this is hash. We were looking for trilobites, but we did not find any. And this hash was apparently marks of the bodies of trilobites and worms and other things that are found in the strata. It's rather disappointing that we didn't find any trilobites, but these are markings from probably trilobites or worms. And here's another piece of fossil wood that I found there at that site there, St. George. Now the trilobites were in Las Vegas, in Nevada. Now this is from the trilobite track layer, or where there were tracks, and this is a looks like a worm suck hole or something, and on the other side are worms. They're actually worm burrows, and here's some more worm burrows. But here, right on the surface, these are ripples, these ripples here. And look right here is a trilobite trackway. And it's the very first one I've ever found. This is just a piece of limestone I found. Differential erosion from acid rain. And these are some more of those polished rocks that come from that conglomerate, which is the Shiner Rump, which is Triassic and contains fossil wood. But notice they're fractured. That shows there's tremendous pressure on these rocks. I think a lot of these, at dinosaur sites, they're found in a lot of fossil strata, and I think they have been mistaken for gastroliths of dinosaurs. I don't think they are gastroliths. These are polished stone, probably ground by the moving sandstone. At the site of the Shiner Rump in the fossil trees, there are also Indian artifacts too. These are chipped stone tools. I learned about how to identify these from Calico Early Man site. Now this is a better one here. You can actually see the flaking on it. Now that's not produced by nature. It's produced by being struck. And you have to be going at a certain speed in order to strike the stone in order to produce the flaking. Like the conchoidal fractures and the bulb, which is often seen on arrowheads and tools. And here is a flake. Indians were everywhere, so it's not unusual. Wherever there's a siliceous rock, there are flaking or even tools sometimes. Now in these layers where the trilobites are, you see the hash here. See this hash, and on the other side you see this. That's mica, and that's produced by melting from volcanic action right on the other side of this piece of shale. Now this is a rock I picked up, piece of shale, when we went on a trip to Tacoma Hot Springs in California at the trilobite site at Emigrant Pass. And see this is the cephalon of an Auldaney trilobite. Now the body is missing. This is just the head and what are called the cheeks, or genal spines. This was all I found there, and I found it as soon as I opened the door. There it was, lying right there. The place has been collected so much, there's nothing there, hardly anything there. You have to really look. Now if you look here, I turned it over after I got home, and there was a surprise. See the bivalve right here. It's only half of one, and they look like a record player. These are the same type of bivalves and trilobites that are found in the Marble Mountains in the Mojave Desert, and also down in the Grand Canyon. Identical to what Powell found when he went down the river in the Grand Canyon. Now this is a rock I picked up, piece of shale, when we went on a trip to Tacoma Hot Springs in California, at the Trilobite site at Immigrant Pass. And see, this is the cephalon of an Auldaney trilobite. Now the body is missing. This is just the head and what are they called, the cheeks, or genal spines. This is all I found there, and I found it as soon as I opened the door. There it was, lying right there. The place has been collected so much, there's nothing there, hardly anything there. You have to really look. Now if you look here, I turned it over after I got home, and there was a surprise. See the bivalve right here. It's only half of one, and they look like a record player. These are the same type of bivalves and trilobites that are found in the Marble Mountains in the Mojave Desert, and also down in the Grand Canyon. Identical to what Powell found when he went down the river in the Grand Canyon. These are pictures of the Auldaney trilobite as they are found in the Mojave Desert at Marble Mountain, if you find them complete. However, most of them are just the head, or called the cephalon. These are complete. And when you go out there, it used to be, when I went out there, you would find one complete one, about an inch long. And you would find maybe 100 cephalons.